Well, happy Thursday and welcome to another mindful moment. I am Tawana and an announcement. This is the last mindful moment for this season. I don't know if they will come back in this format. As of right now, they won't be. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So this is the last one for a while as I reconstruct and um, got some things coming up and I want to make sure that I'm stewarding this well. And so you can catch all replays on the link that is scrolling at the bottom of the screen, as well as subscribe there, excuse me, on the website to be able to get other information about the things that are going on. And again, you can catch them at this scrolling on the screen for now. Some things may change, so visit my website to see what that will look like. But welcome to Thursday Mindful Moment as we go ahead and begin to dive in. So, the thought behind today's topic, loved after leaving beloved. Um, so I was thinking about how people feel after encountering me, after having an encounter with me. Do they feel loved? Do they feel empowered? Or do they feel depleted or judged? And that may not be like every single time. I'm just thinking about each individual times because there may be some situations or instances where one person does feel empowered after leaving me. And then there may be other situations or instances where someone may feel depleted or judged. And so I want to be really intentional about what that interaction looks like, and more so the one person that was coming to mind as I was thinking of this was my daughter, because she is still young and she's still at home, and sometimes I think we forget about those who are proximate with us, how much they matter and how they feel in leaving an encounter with us. And those encounters, because they're so frequent when you're living in close proximity, you forget about those being encounters that matter as well. And we just think about the infrequent encounters. And so that's where this was stemming from. And I'm just going to go directly from my notes that I have here. I did not prepare them on the screen. I wanted to keep it raw and real within the space. Not that any of the other ones are not, but I couldn't stop this thought. So I kept writing things, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to keep my notebook here with all my notes and just go from here. And so I want to pose the question to you, like, are you beloved? And we hear this phrase beloved in passing, and we really think nothing of it. Like you've heard it at weddings, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. And we just hear that word and we just kind of bypass it and think nothing of it. And in the Bible, it even says in Matthew chapter 3, verse 17, when a voice was heard and it said, was talking about Jesus, says, "This is my beloved son, whom I am well pleased." But what does beloved mean? Like, let's look at First John chapter 3, verses 1 through 2. And I'm looking in the ESV version, and on my phone here, it says, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God. And so we are. The reason why the world does not know us, is that it did not know him. Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is." Now, if we go over to chapter 4, verses 7, it says, and this is also in the ESV version, it says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God." So, according to that, God loves us, right? So we're listening to that and we hear that God loves us. And according to Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 through 2, in the ESV version also, it says, "Be imitators of God as dearly beloved children and walk in love." So you can't reflect love after leaving. So reflecting it being that what people feel from you after leaving, if you have not received it yourself. And sometimes receiving just it doesn't mean that you have not experienced it. It means that you have not recognized what love is to recognize yourself as receiving it. So what does it mean to be loved, beloved. Evidence of being loved is consistent fruitfulness, especially when pressed, when in a situation, that joy, that peace, that patience, that kindness, that gentleness, that goodness, and experiencing self control. When you experience this, you are truly being loved. So, being loved, so be loving. Like when you experience it, then you are exuding that love that you experience. And sometimes we say things like, I'm trying to be patient, but then we preposition it with how the other party is behaving that we feel should justify why we no longer need to be loving. As though people only deserve love from us if they behave a certain way. We've all said it. I say it. I say it. And yet, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And that's in Romans 5:8. His death was an act of love and sacrifice for humanity, even though we didn't deserve it. But his love was and is not contingent on our behavior, it is a reflection of God's character. And so I was recently reflecting on a situation where I was in this very same predicament, saying this same thing. I was saying this very same thing. Like, God, I'm trying to have empathy and be patient, but they. And I stopped myself in my tracks of going down this road. And I literally had to ask myself, but what? Like, but who? I realized that my why and that I was about to travel down this butt road because in our minds and somewhere along in life and on our life's journey, we have been conditioned to believe being fruitful is passive. We can still be firm and be fruitful. I mean, Jesus flipped tables, y'all, and Jesus is love. And you can read about him flipping tables in the book of Mark and in the book of Matthew. And sometimes, actually, many times, really, not even sometimes, I think we think in order to achieve results or address conflict, we have to be confrontational. But in the Bible, it says in Galatians 5:26, and this is after talking about what it means to be fruitful in verse 22, it says, let us not provoke one another. Truth, correction, and boundaries, they lose power if love is not the motive. If control is the motive, it may last for a moment because of the control and fear. But if love is not the motive, then the truth and the correction and the boundaries that are being set are not going to sustain. They're going to lose power. And so First Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 8. And I'm coming from the Passion Version because it says it so well and it puts it this way. If I were to speak with eloquence in earth's many languages and in heavenly tongues of angels, yet I didn't express myself with love, my word would be reduced to a hollow sound of nothing more than a clanging cymbal. And if I were to have the gift of prophecy with a profound understanding of God's hidden secret, and if I possessed an unending supernatural knowledge, and if I had the greatest gift of faith that could move a mountain, but have never learned to love, then I am nothing. And if I were to be so generous to give away everything I own to feed the poor, and to offer my body to be burned as a martyr without the pure motive of love, I would gain nothing of value. And that's not it. It's so stay with me. I chose the Passion Version because it says it so practically. And so continuing verse 4, it says, love is large and incredibly patient. And so, if we are not thinking about, because incredible is another word that we just kind of bypass the meaning of it, but incredible means unbelievable. So, in other words, love is unbelievably patient, is unbelievably patient, meaning you can't even believe it. Continuing, love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessings come to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflates its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect nor selfishly seek its own honor. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. I'm going to stop right there for a moment because it says love is not easily irritated. It didn't say love does not get irritated. It just says not easily. It also says love is not quick to take offense. Not love does not take offense. Because let's be honest, there will be times where you will get irritated and things will be offensive. But love is not overly sensitive and ready to crash out at the drop of a dime because love is patient, unbelievably patient. Remember, Jesus flipped tables, right? And so he did that because he was irritated and offended by what the people were doing in the temple. And so continuing in verse 6 of First Corinthians chapter 13, it says, love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure to defeat, for it never gives up. And to sum it all up in verse 8, love never stops loving. It extends beyond the gift of prophecy, which eventually fades away. It is more enduring than tongues, which will one day fall silent. Love remains long after words of knowledge are forgotten. So again, I say, truth, correction, and boundaries will lose their power if love is not the motive. So back to my very real, very practical, very real life example where I was saying I'm trying to be patient, but I had to stop and say, but what? But God. And be very intentional in shifting my focus from their behavior and put my focus on God and how I need to conduct myself and on my behavior. I had to think, God, help me to walk firm and direct because just because I need to be fruitful doesn't mean I need to be passive. So, God, help me to walk firm and direct in love. God, what does that look like for me in this situation? Colossians 3, verses 12 through 14 in the NIV version says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. So to clothe yourselves implies to be intentional. You decide in each situation, every encounter, every interaction to put on love, not just for those who you feel are deserving. And in verse 13 and 14, it says, bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you have grievance against someone, because again, you will be offended, you will get irritated, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Now, let me address the very elephant in the room, which I know a lot of you were saying, because even in my study, I was thinking and saying the same thing. Not everyone is receiving of love. I didn't say not everyone deserves it. I said not everyone is receiving. So remember, I said in the beginning, you can't reflect what you haven't received. So some may not be welcoming because the love you show is unfamiliar. And I mentioned in a previous mindful moment that familiar doesn't mean fruitful. And so people may just be moving along life and doing things that are just familiar to them, but it's not fruitful for them. And so what you are exuding off of you may not be familiar. So people are kind of like, I'm not really sure what that is. But there's a saying that says a smile confuses an approaching frown. And so, although they may be kind of off put and offset about what it is that you are putting out, which is love, your goal should not be to control them and how they receive it and how they respond. It should be to create unity and harmony. And you can only be responsible for your part. Romans 12:9 says, love must be sincere. And sincere means genuine, free from deceit or pretense. You're not doing it for them to behave a certain way. And in Romans 12:18, it says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. You are responsible or only responsible for your actions, for what you do. So, in a previous mindful moment titled Love is the Lever, I spoke about the Good Samaritan and how he helped the wounded man. And in that, I thought about How he acted and his behavior and his character could have been the catalyst for the innkeeper's willingness to be compassionate. Remember, if you go back to the story, he paid the innkeeper for some time for the harmed man to stay there. And then he said, I'll come back and give you the rest. The innkeeper could have said, no, I'm going to need everything up front, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not even willing to do this. So my thoughts in that was the Samaritan's actions and his character and what he was reflecting as love could have been the catalyst that mirrored what love looked like. And that could have been the catalyst for the compassion that the innkeeper showed. So remembering that people can't reflect what they've never seen. We can't be the reflection of love for others to mimic. I'm sorry, we can be the reflection for others to mimic, but real love, not your Mary J. Blige love. I'm talking about real love, the patience, the peacefulness, the joy, the kindness, the goodness, the gentleness, and the self control. After that, we can't control others. We can only be responsible for how we show up, remembering our job is to plant the seed, not grow it. I heard someone say this best, and it stuck with me, and it continues, excuse me, to stick with me. We are to be their guide and not their God. If we want others to be loving, we have to remember what it is to be loved, beloved. Well, what a way to end out this series and sessions of Mindful Moment. That is my time. If this has helped you, then I strongly encourage you to share it with someone else. If any of these mindful moments have helped you, then share it with someone else. If this one helped you, go back and look at the link on the screen and view others and see what God is speaking to you in those. If you want to go deep, I do have the Mindful Moment Reset series, moving beyond pressure to what lasts. And you can catch that on the link that's on the screen as well. Again, go there, follow me, subscribe to the page so that you can get updates. But this is the last one for this season, so you will not catch me next Thursday. But stay tuned for some up and coming things that we do have underway. Again, visit the link on the screen. Thank you all for showing up and for yourself and taking a mindful moment to turn down the volume on life so that you can turn up the volume on what God may be speaking to you. Until then, I hope that you have a great rest of your day and see you soon.